Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a shift that is, it's so massive, so fundamental.
Yeah.
I think most people, outside of the immediate region haven't even fully grasped the scale of it yet.
Oh, not at all. It's one of those stories that just bubbles under the surface for years until suddenly it's the only thing anyone is talking about.
Exactly. We're talking about the digital renaissance in West Africa, and before you roll your eyes at a buzzword like renaissance,
I know.
looking at the source material we have on the desk today, I think the term actually genuinely fits.
It does. It really does. It fits because we aren't just talking about people buying new phones or, downloading the latest apps. We're talking about a structural shift.
A shift in how an entire region generates economic value.
Exactly.
And the timeline here is just so important. We're recording this in February 2026. If you think back just 2 years ago, AI was a novelty.
A cool side tool.
Yeah, a gadget. Now, looking at these reports, it's the bedrock. We've got a whole stack of documents here. The main one is the West Africa profile from the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Sustainable Development.
Right, from CAIS.
We've also got the 2025 Government AI Readiness Index from Oxford Insights, and they're fresh off the press, the communiques from the ECOWAS meeting in Lagos.
That happened literally last month, January 2026.
Yeah.
And that meeting in Lagos, it really sets the tone for everything we're going to discuss. It marks the moment where AI stopped being a nice-to-have in West Africa and officially became the foundation.
The foundation of development strategy. So our mission today is to parse through these strategies, these indexes, to understand how West Africa is attempting this pivot.
A huge pivot.
Moving from being a consumer of Western tech, just, scrolling on apps made in California, to being a co-creator.
An active participant in the global AI ecosystem.
Right.
Which is, it's an incredibly ambitious pivot.
It is. It brings up that concept of leapfrogging that we always hear about. You know how the continent skipped landlines and went straight to mobile phones? The narrative here feels like they want to do the exact same thing with AI.
Skip the legacy industrial software phase.
And go straight to automated AI-driven economies.
That's the dream. But I think we need to be a little bit careful with that leapfrogging analogy.
Oh, why's that?
Because it implies. It just happens, like it's an accident, water flowing downhill.
Yeah.
What these documents show us is that this is very deliberate.
Okay.
It's a top-down strategy that's colliding with, this incredible bottom-up innovation.
Right. So let's start with that top-down part, because usually when I hear bureaucratic framework, my eyes start to glaze over a little bit.
Sure.
But the African Union and ECOWAS seem to be moving with a surprising amount of speed here.
They really are.
Yeah.
You have to look at the timeline. The African Union endorsed the Continental Artificial Intelligence Strategy back in July 2024. That was the starting gun.
Right.
But the document that really caught my eye in our stack is STISA 2034.
STISA 2034. It sounds like a droid from a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it? It stands for the Science, Technology, and Innovation Strategy for Africa. It launched in 2025. And the reason 2034 is in the name is because they are playing the long game.
So this isn't a 2-year election cycle plan.
No, it's a 10-year blueprint to shift the entire continent toward a knowledge-based economy.
Meaning less reliance on digging stuff out of the ground, oil, cocoa, whatever, and more on intellectual property.
Precisely. And that pivot, it's driven by a very specific anxiety that comes up again and again in those Lagos communiques. 2 words. Data sovereignty.
Okay, let's unpack that, because sovereignty usually makes me think of borders and armies. What does it mean in a digital context?
Well, think about the old colonial economic model for a second. Structurally, what was it?
You extract raw materials.
Right. Cotton, rubber, minerals from Africa. You ship them to Europe or America, process them into finished goods, and then sell them back to Africa at a huge markup.
So the value add happens somewhere else. The origin country just gets the scraps.
Exactly. The fear among the AU and ECOWAS leadership is that AI is setting up to be a kind of digital colonialism. The raw material this time is data. If African data is extracted, processed by algorithms in Silicon Valley, and then sold back as expensive software, well, nothing has actually changed, has it?
They're still just the raw material providers. Wow, that's a pretty stark parallel when you put it that way.
It is. So the strategy is to own the refinery, not just the oil well.
Spot on. And that's why you see these references in the CAISD report to the Malabo Convention.
On cybersecurity and personal data protection, it's all about legal scaffolding. If you don't have your own laws for how data is collected and stored, you are playing by someone else's rules.
And those rules rarely favor you.
Never.
This explains the outcome of that January 2026 meeting in Lagos. They adopted a regional AI governance framework. But, frameworks can just be paper. What does this actually look like for, say, a business on the ground?
It looks like the regional digital single market. This is the killer app of policy, if you will.
Explain that for us.
Okay, imagine you're a startup founder in Benin. You got a great AI product. Benin's a pretty small market.
Right.
If you want to sell to Nigeria next door and then Ghana, right now you might face 3 different sets of data privacy laws, 3 licensing regimes, 3 tax structures. It's a logistical nightmare.
It kills scalability. You spend all your money on lawyers, not developers.
It suffocates it. The digital single market aims to harmonize all of that. One set of rules for the whole block. It turns this fragmented market of small countries into one massive market.
A sandbox big enough for unicorns to grow.
That's the idea.
And I noticed in the notes from Lagos, they aren't just looking at the economics. They seem really concerned about the societal impact, too.
They are. They explicitly address information disorder.
Which is a very polite way of saying fake news.
AI-generated fake news specifically. Deep fakes in political campaigns, automated bot farms. I mean, in fragile democracies, that stuff isn't just annoying, it's destabilizing. They're also looking hard at algorithmic bias and labor displacement. They're trying to write the safety manual before the car is fully built and going 100 miles an hour.
There was one initiative in the strategy section that sounded almost like a spy novel. The Francophone Data Ring. What is that?
It's actually a brilliant example of resource pooling. Building a proper data center, a Tier 4, is incredibly expensive. Not every country can afford one.
So they share?
They share. The ring allows a country like Mali to store government records in regional data centers, or Guinea to store sovereign data on Senegal's infrastructure.
And it's all based on trust.
It is. They'd rather trust a neighbor within the same legal framework than store their most sensitive data on a server in, Arizona or Frankfurt.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so that's the high-level strategy. The general's looking at the map. But the CAISD report makes a point that progress on the ground is heterogeneous.
Which is academic speak for it's all over the place.
Right. Some countries are sprinting, others are barely walking. The report breaks down the key players almost like character classes in an RPG or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So let's walk through these 4 pillars. First up, we have Benin. The report calls them the model student.
Benin is the surprise contender here. They're ranked 90th in the AI Readiness Index, which might not sound high globally, but regionally, they're punching way above their weight.
And why model student? Just because they follow the rules?
It's because they have a plan, the SNIM 2023-2027 strategy, and they actually stick to it. But it's not just bureaucratic. They're doing some really interesting, culturally specific innovation. Did you catch the HEMA Line project?
I love my language.
Yes, it's a natural language processing and NLP project, specifically for the Fon-B language.
See, this is so critical because if you ask a standard Western chatbot to write something in French, it's great. If you ask it to do it in Fon-B, it probably just fails completely.
Or hallucinates. And if AI only works in colonial languages like French or English, it effectively excludes huge parts of the population.
Yeah, rural population.
Exactly. Benin is actively fixing that. They're also using AI and GovTech to automate land titles.
Land titles sound a bit dry, but I know economists get very excited about them.
They're the bedrock of the whole economy, right?
Okay.
In many places, people own land but have no paper to prove it. They can't borrow against it, can't start a business. If AI can sort that out and secure property rights, you unlock billions in dead capital.
Okay, so Benin is the smart, organized innovator. Next, the heavyweight, Nigeria, the talent and startup hub.
But you can't talk about West Africa without talking about Nigeria. Ranked 70th regional leader. But the scale, it's just on another level.
The report mentions over 120 active AI startups.
It's a huge ecosystem. Lagos is basically the Silicon Valley of the continent right now. They've been designated as the regional West African compute hub. But the most ambitious thing is the human capital play. Their 2025 national AI strategy includes a program called 3 Million Technical Talent.
3 million? That's not a typo.
Not a typo. They are trying to train 3 million people in technical skills. It's a numbers game. even if you only get a 10% success rate of really high-level engineers.
That's 300,000 engineers. That changes the global labor market.
It really does. And they're also leading in language, just like Benin, but for Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. Again, making sure the tech works for the people who actually live there.
Okay, moving west, we hit Senegal. They're dubbed the infrastructure hub.
Ranked 96th. Their guiding star is the Plan Senegal Emergent. But where Nigeria has the startups, Senegal has the hard iron, the servers. They host the Diamniadio data center facilities.
Where those sovereign clouds we talked about actually live?
Precisely. And they have a national supercomputer.
Wow.
And I love the application here. In the West, supercomputers are often used for modeling, I don't know, high-frequency trading or something.
Right.
In Senegal, the supercomputer is dedicated to predictive climate modeling for the Sahel.
The region right on the edge of the Sahara Desert.
Ground zero for climate change. Desertification is eating up farmland. So Senegal is using high-performance computing to predict rainfall, track soil degradation. They're essentially trying to terraform their own agriculture to survive. It's existential AI.
That is incredible. Finally, Côte d'Ivoire, the governance leader.
Ranked 95th. They've established a regional AI lab in Abidjan. But the stat that jumped out at me wasn't about the tech. It was about the people. They have a mandate for 40% female participation in AI research.
That's a very specific number.
It's a firm target.
Okay.
And strategically, it's about mitigating bias. We know AI systems inherit the biases of their creators. If you ensure the research team is 40% women from West Africa, you are baking inclusion into the source code itself.
You prevent the bias before it even gets coded.
You try to, yeah.
So we have these 4 pillars. Benin bringing policy, Nigeria with the talent, Senegal has the infrastructure, and Côte d'Ivoire brings governance.
It's like they're assembling a specialized team, isn't it?
It really is. Now, you mentioned vertical AI earlier. The notes keep distinguishing this from horizontal AI. Let's just clarify that. ChatGPT is horizontal, right? Does everything a little bit.
Correct. Horizontal AI is broad. Vertical AI is deep. It's trained on a specific data set to solve a specific problem in a specific industry. And the AU strategy is betting heavily on vertical AI.
They don't need a better chatbot. They need tools that understand local realities.
Exactly.
The report highlights Ghana and Togo here as the innovators. Let's look at Ghana. They're the resource constraint innovator. What problem are they solving?
Cocoa. It's the lifeblood of their economy. But they are fighting something called cocoa swollen shoot disease. It's a virus that just devastates plantations.
And how does AI fix a virus?
It doesn't cure it, but it contains it. The COCOBOD, the cocoa board, is using satellite imagery linked to AI models to scan the plantations from space. The AI can detect the specific visual signature of the disease in the canopy.
Before a human on the ground would even notice it.
Way before. So they can pinpoint the infection, quarantine the trees, and cut it out before it wipes out the whole harvest.
That's vertical AI. It's not trying to write a poem. It's trying to save 20% of the country's GDP.
That's a fantastic example. And Togo?
They're the GovTech innovator.
Yeah, they're doing something similar to Benin with land titles, but also integrating fraud detection, using AI to analyze transaction patterns to stop property fraud. Again, creating a safe environment for investment.
So the theme here is linguistic and functional inclusion, building tools that speak the local language and solve the local headache.
Right, it's tech that meets people where they are, instead of asking people to change to fit the tech.
Okay, but we have to be realists. This is the deep dive, not the hype dive. The CAISD report has a whole section on the hurdles, and they are significant.
They're massive. The report identifies pronounced gaps. The big 3 are infrastructure, talent retention, and investment.
Let's start with infrastructure, specifically energy. You can't run a data center in Lagos if the power goes out 4 hours a day.
You really can't. AI compute is incredibly power hungry. If you plug a GPU cluster into a fragile national grid, you might crash the whole grid for the neighborhood.
So what's the fix?
The report proposes green power for compute. The idea is to decouple the AI infrastructure from the national grid. You build data centers co-located with renewable energy sources, solar farms, hydro plants, that are dedicated solely to that data center.
So the AI has its own private power plant.
Essentially, it turns weakness-bad grids into an opportunity because they have abundant solar. It's a very clever workaround.
Okay, then there's talent. You mentioned Nigeria training 3 million people. The cynic in me says, great, they train 3 million people and then Google hires them all to move to London.
The brain drain. It's a very real threat. A senior engineer can earn 50 times more in the US than in a local startup.
So how do you stop that?
You can't stop it entirely, but you can mitigate it. The report suggests tech visas to let talent move easily within Africa. So a Nigerian engineer moves to a cool project in Senegal instead of leaving the continent. But mostly, it's about creating an ecosystem.
If there are exciting, well-funded startups in Lagos, people will want to stay.
They'll want to stay and build.
And finally, the hardware hurdle. Not everyone in a rural village has the latest iPhone. Most people have older, cheaper Androids. How do you run advanced AI on a $50 smartphone?
This is where edge AI comes in. This is a critical technical concept for the whole region.
Break it down for us.
Traditional AI is cloud AI. You ask a question, it goes to a server, processes, and comes back. That needs a fast, constant internet connection.
Which is not a given in a rural village.
Not at all. Edge AI means shrinking the model down so it can run locally on the device's own chip.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to talk to the cloud.
So the farmer in the field can use the crop disease scanner even if he has zero signal.
Correct. The intelligence is on the edge, right there in his hand. The report emphasizes that for African AI to be truly inclusive, it has to be edge first. It has to work offline.
That's a huge shift in design philosophy compared to the West, where we just assume we always have 5G.
It forces efficiency.
Huh.
It forces better coding.
So pulling all this together, we've got the strategy, the countries, the vertical solutions, the workarounds for the hurdles. What's the big picture takeaway?
For me, the takeaway is that West Africa has all the ingredients to be an AI powerhouse, but they're currently scattered.
Like puzzle pieces on a table.
Exactly. You have the massive youth demographic and entrepreneurial fire in Nigeria. You have the stable policy environment in Benin. You have the heavy infrastructure in Senegal, the governance focus in Côte d'Ivoire.
The formula for success is synthesis.
Yes. The CAISD report essentially says, if these countries can actually harmonize, if they can make that digital single market real, they can create a uniquely African AI ecosystem.
They can leapfrog.
They can. If they stay fragmented, they'll just be customers for big tech forever.
It's a united we stand, divided we subscribe situation.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
Before we go, I want to leave the listener with something. We talked about data sovereignty. The AU strategy mentions reducing foreign biases.
This is the thought that keeps me up at night in a good way.
Go on.
Right now, the mind of AI, the logic models like GPT-4 or Claude, they're trained overwhelmingly on Western data.
Right.
Western books, the Western internet, Western philosophy. It thinks like a Westerner.
Sure.
It prioritizes individual liberty, Western logic, Western ethics. If West Africa succeeds in building sovereign AI, if they train models on African literature, African legal traditions, African communal values,
we might see a new kind of intelligence emerge.
a completely different logic.
Yeah.
Maybe it prioritizes the community over the individual. Maybe it solves resource allocation problems in ways a Western model never would because it's optimizing for different variables.
So we aren't just waiting for new apps, we're waiting to see a new perspective on intelligence itself.
Exactly, and that is something the whole world should be watching.
Something to think about the next time you interact with an algorithm. Who taught it to think? That's it for this deep dive into West Africa's digital future. Thanks for being with us.